the person object class method and transferring it to the APM system of Elastic, right? I've called this delete transaction. It's not really in correlation with this one and this one, with the capture transaction method and the start transaction method. But I've called it delete transaction simply because I'm going to use the delete method right here, okay? Now, nevertheless, on the start transaction, I will be using the insert and maybe capture transaction, the update method. But again, you can call them anything you want. I've sort of tried to, you know, come up with the best wording on my site, or maybe convention, naming convention, which I thought would be best for the course. But you can name them anything you want. And then now let's start with typing in some functionality under the start transaction. So we start with the agent. So this is agent comes from the Elastic APM Net Core All library. Agent tracer dot start transaction. Okay, now that's how you start the transaction, and then you point out. So I usually put a name here. So what is that? I would usually put the method name here, start transaction, so you know where this information came from. And then, but I'm running, for example, but I would like to do what insert, and that will come from another method, right? From the other object. So I hope you get my idea. And this will be war start transaction. Okay, there we go. So now I'd like to use try catch cycle here, right? Nothing scary. And then I will include finally, oops, there we go, some mistyping. All right, this is a, oops, no. And finally here, obviously, and I will say start transaction. This is where the transaction ends. I would like to point out something, okay? You can start the transaction within this method and you can end it within the same method, but then you can start the transaction somewhere else, in another class, in another object, method, whatever, function. And you can also end it in another class or method or whatever, okay? So not necessarily you have to keep it within just one function or method, all right? So just keep in mind about this. Architecturally, it's fine like that, but you can also go some other ways too, all right? And then on catch, we'd like to catch this transaction exception, right? Which we call capture exception, and then we're just passing in the exception e parameter. Now imagine, I hope that you're getting my point right here with this library, with the Elastic. So all of the exceptions that will come through the insert functionality, which is going to be this method, through this main method, right, will be stored on the APM, or application performance monitoring. So this is how you monitor all of it. So there is no need that you store really your exceptions in logs, and then you need to spend time, you know, delving and researching inside what's going on, for example, and where's the error and whatever, and blah 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 and blah blah blah. So basically the APM will give you all information that you require in a very nicely, for example, collected information under the APM and the dashboards after that, so which we will see in a little bit. So right here we said that we need a new instantiation of person, and then we need to call the insert method, right? Insert, all right. So, and then we need to await this guy because this is an asynchronous call. So it appears that this is done. But at the end, I said this is task, and I need to return task, but not start transaction, but task, completed task. Okay, so remember, I hope you know about these things. This is just pure C# things. So what do we have here? Start transaction, and what do we do? What we want to do within this transaction under this name and this functionality, and in case of an error, just pass in the error, okay? Now, keep in mind, I can throw in an exception right here like something has happened during insert. But let's see after that, I mean, how this works once I have prepared pretty much everything for you. All right, so this is the main transaction which your application must have during the initial running of the application. Okay, so keep that in mind. So what does that mean? That means that I need to first run this transaction. All right, it was there for me. I would need to run transactions.start transaction first before anything else. All right, this needs to be awaited again, right? And then we run capture transaction and then delete transaction. Sort of, no matter what you do, when you instantiate, when you run your program, you need to sort of run your main modules within the start transaction, right? So that's one of a must thing. All right, and then you capture transactions and you do other things, as we're going to explain a little bit. So under the capture transaction, what we need to do is we start with agent. There's nothing difficult here, everything is very easy to use, but capture transaction. All right, so now we need to, during the capture transaction, we still capture what's happening in the same way. We're still doing this way, sort of the same way things, but in a more manageable way or automated way. Because now imagine right here we have to start the transaction, right? And then we have to this is how we capture the exception. Am I right? But then we have to finally stop the exception as well, and then we need to return a completed task, or whether it's completed or not. Now in this case things are more simpler, and here's how they work. It's still the same. So basically I will be running the capture transaction, right, but the update process, and then we have a simple function, asynchronous function, which is a lambda expression. All right, keep that in mind. And then we'll put functionality within the curly brackets. So I'm going to do it like that. Perfect. All right, and then we need some information inside. All right, so, and then what do we, oh, okay, and then why is it complaining? Well, I can wrap this up within a variable, let's say r result, and then return the result. Return, because that's what's accepted, right? Okay, but I don't want to do this. I would like to return, and this is a return. I would like to return, actually we can do it this way, but all right, you know what, let's do it the old school. We'll do the other method, the old school way. Okay, so anyway, basically what we're going to do here is I would still need to return task, okay, from result. All right, that's very important. Task dot completed task, and then I will just close the brackets. Perfect. Okay, and then we need just we just need the functionality right here. So what do we need to do? Await person dot, and then I'm just updating, passing, for example, that I'm updating user, I mean person with an ID 1, and then just do it like that. Now I did not need to instantiate this one because I purposely declared this one as static, right? So it's fine. Let's keep it this way so that you do not mix up things and everything. So I just want to make sure everything looks nice. All right, and then let's do the delete transaction, right? Okay, so we do it in a similar or the same manner. So I just want to point out, we started a transaction here, but this is where we capture a transaction. Okay, so we capture what's happening and then we return the result. All right, and this one is going to be capturing transaction again. Oh, actually I just want to do the same one. All right, so capture transaction, and then I'll show you how you capture a span of a transaction, but that's going to be in a little bit. Just bear with me. So we set delete, and there we go. And then we set the async lambda expression functionality, whatever goes inside this is, and then I'm going to return task from result, and then task, completed task, and then we'll, oops, there we go, press the wrong key, I went at the bottom. And then simple as that again, I will await, since this is an asynchronous person, delete, and we'll pass number 2, supposedly, you know, that we have record number 2 for deletion. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Pretty much we're doing nothing complex right here. Now you would imagine what's happening. Okay, so whatever happens here, meaning here under the delete, oh, okay, so that's why I did the delete, so that to show that I'm going to throw an exception right here. Person ID was not deleted. Please check, for example, right? Please check, okay? All right. And then you get the log through the APM right here, and then you see what's going on, what the exception was, and you fix it. You see how easy it is. Now imagine if this was something that you have to keep all those logs in the, for example, in a text file. Oh my goodness, that was going to be hell, right? I mean, you need a way to analyze them, right? So basically, this is what gives you that option and functionality to analyze all the logs. Now, keep in mind that if that was a customer application, on their side you can still run this locally on their server, for example, and you can still do the monitoring of your application if you're selling the software, for example, on a pre-install base. But if it's a software as a SaaS, then you may want this installed on your server, and then to observe whatever is happening on the, for example, within your application, or whether you should modify something or improve or whatever. Okay, so under the insert method, we're not going to change anything here. So what's going to happen here, we already have that covered under the start transaction, and that's what's going to happen here. Whatever happens, whatever result is returned, this is what gets monitored. Under the update, I want to show you some more capability, or how you can capture a span of your current transaction. Okay, so if you want to get more details, basically more details than what you're going to get from here, then under the update I will just do it like that. All right, so agent, it's very easy again, tracer, current transaction, and then start span. There we go. But then imagine again, everything is very simply done here, and I'm going to call this time the person object. And what we're doing, an update. So this is when this is where everything is happening. Okay, just keep in mind. So that's why. All right, so async and lambda expression, and my favorite curly brackets. Am I right?